First, time to transition, and it's good news. That's the focus of tonight's angle.
It's what we say. When we fight, we can win. When we fight, we win.
Donald and Elon are bullies. They are afraid of pushback, and we are here to push back.
How many more Americans will you detain? Do you believe in the First Amendment, Tom Homan?
While the Democrats scream at protests and struggle to do their own political autopsy, President Trump is fighting 24/7 for America. The goal is simple: a return to an era of peace, prosperity, and common sense.
Financially, we'll be stronger than ever before. I think the markets are going to soar when they see what's happening. And I want to tell you, there's tremendous optimism out there about our country in terms of regulations being cut, in terms of taxes being cut. It would be great if the Democrats would do what's right for our country for a change.
Isn't it great to have an optimistic president who has a real plan to make life better for Wall Street and Main Street? Just ignore the sky is falling reports in the regime press. Tune out the breathless reporting about market gyrations, because even the most dedicated globalists, they know Trump is good for business.
The president is engaged with the business community. The administration is engaged with the business community. And that's a different experience than what we've had over the course of the last 4 years. I'd also observe, his sense of optimism in the engagement yesterday at the BRT.
So what we're living through now is a transition, and this one's good for us. For decades, ours has been an economy driven by government stimulus, a lot of printing and borrowing of money, government spending, government giveaways. And Trump knows our survival, though, requires a return to an economy by private sector productivity, the way it used to be. That's why the playing field in global trade has got to be leveled.
We have tariffs on dairy products from Canada of 270%, going up to 400%. You never hear that. Canada's absolutely one of the worst. And we, when I say worst in terms of charging tariffs. Their dairy products, they charge our farmers 240, 250, 270, and 400%. And we charge them like peanuts.
400%? Oh, that's fair. Look, Trump has been on this since, I don't know, sometime in the 1980s.
It's very important that you have free trade. But we don't have free trade right now, because if you want to go to Japan or if you want to go to Saudi Arabia or various other countries, it's virtually impossible for an American to do business in those countries. A lot of people are tired of watching other countries ripping off the United States. This is a great country. They laugh at us. Behind our backs, they laugh at us because of our own stupidity.
Yeah, and nearly 40 years later, now Donald Trump is in a position to do something about it.
The United States of America is going to take back a lot of what was stolen from it by other countries and by, frankly, incompetent U.S. leadership. We're going to take back our wealth, and we're going to take back a lot of the companies that left.
Take back what they stole from us, or what we gave away from stupid policies. And you think about it, what is the alternative? Keep allowing government to just balloon out of control? Keep borrowing money? Keep, I don't know, the deficit spending $2 trillion every time we do a budget? What happens when our debt becomes too risky and then no one wants to buy it?
They have to sell a quantity of debt that the world is not going to want to buy. And that's a set of circumstances that is imminent. You are going to see shocking developments in terms of how that's going to be dealt with. Things that may not have happened in our lifetimes.
Trump understands this, but Democrats, for political reasons, pretend not to.
President Biden had left him an economy with steady growth, with all-time high stock markets, and with inflation coming down.
Donald Trump was given an economy that was on the way up. It's completely inverted now.
Oh, yeah, okay, that must be why Kamala won. Oh, wait. Now, the truth is, Trump is delivering for the American people. Companies are moving in or expanding, not shrinking or moving out. A Japanese beer company in Wisconsin boosting its production. 2 different South Korean steel makers are looking to bring production here. And Volvo, they're considering expanding production at their South Carolina plant. But still, Democrats want you to believe they suddenly have the real solution for the middle class?
Our unity of purpose is a clear sign of whose side we stand on. We're standing on the side of working families.
Okay, those are really nice words and well delivered. But the actions don't match up, and the people are onto this scam. According to an internal poll at the Democrat group called Navigator Research, only 27% of independents think that Democrats are focused on helping them, compared with 55% who said they're focused on others. Now, earlier today, our own Raymond Arroyo decided to ask folks in D.C. what they think about the Democrats.
When I say the word Democrat, you think what?
Loser. Transgenderism. Liberal. Stock trading.
They have strange thoughts. I don't understand them.
Crybaby, Musk hater, suddenly.
More social programs and entitlements.
Socialist.
Evil.
Tell us how you really feel. Well, the fact is, over the past 4 years, Biden and the Democrats threw the middle class under the bus. Then they backed up and ran them over again. All Biden needed to do in January 2021, when you really think this through, and where the economy was in December 2019 before the pandemic, all Biden needed to do when he came into office was open up the economy, open the country up, get America back to business. But of course, he did the opposite. He kept things closed longer for months and months and months. He blew trillions that we didn't need to spend on COVID giveaways in Ukraine, on illegals, and of course, countless boondoggles that we're only discovering now. And if they're back in the majority, they'll do it again. More spending, more wasted foreign aid, more investigations, yes, of Trump, and probably, another impeachment. So does America really want that? We've seen that movie, and we know how it ended. And that's the angle.
Today, inflation dropped to its lowest level in 3.5 years. Illegal border crossings are now down to about zero. Gas is back down to below $3 a gallon. Mortgage rates have dropped for 6 straight weeks. Jobs are up. Unemployment's down. $2 trillion in private money is being invested in America. DEI is dead. The government's more efficient. And Ukraine's agreed to a ceasefire. But Bernie Sanders says he's scared.
These are the scariest times in my lifetime. That's all. I mean, I think that's objectively the truth. He is now trying to end what the founding fathers were pretty smart about, creating a form of government where there were checks and balances, a legislative body, an executive body, and a judiciary.
What is Bernie, like 100? He's lived through the Cuban Missile Crisis, 9/11, COVID, and he's scared of the golden age? No. When Hillary told him to drop out or else, that was scarier. But even scarier is being stranded in outer space. Biden left 2 astronauts floating around up there. Elon offered to save them last year, but Biden said no. He didn't want Musk getting credit for the rescue, so he just let him hover. And now, 9 months later, Elon's sending a rocket up to bring him home. But Bernie's mad Musk has the money for the rocket.
It is not just they want to give tax breaks to billionaires and cut programs for working people. Frankly, that's happened before. Yeah. But you combine that with the power of the oligarchy in general. You combine that with Mr. Musk owning Twitter and able to send out his messages to hundreds of millions of people. It's not only the power of money, it's also combined with that, the movement toward authoritarianism.
Elon saving stranded astronauts with SpaceX, saving Ukraine with Starlink, and saving free speech with X. But Bernie's mad Musk's megaphone is bigger than his. It's not the size of the megaphone, Bern. It's what you say into it. And what are these programs for working people Musk's cutting? Could it be the $750,000 to examine social networks among Black and Latino sexual minority men in New Jersey? Or $700,000 to study cannabis use among sexual minority gender diverse individuals? $100,000 for assessing sexual health for gay Latinos in the agriculture community? $600,000 for teen pregnancy prevention for trans boys. Thank God. No more boys are getting pregnant. It's an epidemic. Democrats used to be down with Doge.
Yes, you do have to cut some programs. I think there's waste out there. I think there are programs that can and should be cut.
Again, we all agree we have to get rid of waste, fraud, abuse, duplication, obsolescence, and the rest. The GAO has given us a blueprint for that, and we subscribe to that. We all agree that we must reduce the deficit.
There's tremendous waste in government, and I think any Democrat who ignores the lessons, the lessons of those who voted, the lessons of the last election, makes a mistake. The people did want government to cut out the waste and to shrink.
Everything Trump does, Democrats must oppose. Got to oppose DOGE. They must restore teen boy pregnancy prevention. Trump made Democrats hate EVs. Getting behind the wheel of a Tesla, you're now Adolf.
All of that. And you end it with, I love Tesla. But you know what? It's an honest mistake. He just mixed up the two words most associated with Elon Musk, Tesla and Hitler.
Adam Schiff's whip, a Tesla. Now he says it's his biggest regret, not the Russia hoax, the car. Senator Mark Kelly's putting his Tesla up for sale. Democrats are like teenage girls. If they don't like you and you like something, then they can't like it. Even if they liked it before, now they have to hate it. Teslas are getting their tires slashed and spray painted with swastikas. And liberals are torching Tesla charging stations and hurling Molotov cocktails at dealerships. But the media says that Molotov cocktail was mostly peaceful.
Overnight, have this post claiming that protests at Tesla dealerships are illegal. He said today he would label violence against dealerships domestic terrorism. So just to be clear, you protest a private company, you are labeled by this administration a domestic terrorist. You show up at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th with the intent to overturn a fair and free election, and you get a pardon.
47 went green, bought an electric car. He's saving the planet. That's what they tell us. Nope. It made Chuck sick.
Just turns your stomach at what they do to help one another. What do you think Americans think of that when they see Trump pushing Elon Musk, the richest man in the world's Teslas? A man born with a limousine, who for the rest of his life will be driven by Secret Service, was supposedly buying a new car and checking out his EV options. What a joke.
He turned the White House into a car show trying to help put a floor under the plummeting stock value of Elon Musk's Tesla.
You know what turns my stomach? Watching Schumer grill. An American president buys an American car that liberals love, and Democrats don't like it. Shady Kazakhstanis gave the vice president's son an electric car. He didn't like it, so he turned it in the same shady Kazakhstani bought him a Porsche. That didn't turn Chuck's stomach then, and neither did Joe flying Hunter to China and coming back with bags of cash. And Coons thinks it's suspect to turn the White House into a car show. The Wrangler Biden's promoting isn't even American. The Dutch own it. Obama and Biden let Jeep get sold overseas, and he's driving a foreign car around the White House lawn. During an EV summit, he invited every electric car maker except Tesla. Joe snubbed Musk, the largest EV maker in the world. And then he sued Musk for not hiring migrants. The Democrats and Musk had a bad breakup. You know how these are. They used to be in love.
We're going to try to see if we can accelerate this kind of collaboration through what we put forward. So
It's the right plan. Good.
Well, congratulations. This is terrific.
Thank you very much.
How's the car doing?
It's doing great, actually.
Yeah. And how do you split your time between car and rocket?
Well, it's usually about 50-50. We should have the sedan on the roads in 2 years. And it'll be the best car on the roads by far.
Musk didn't change. Democrats did. He's always believed in free speech and free enterprise. He didn't make his money shorting the pound like Soros so he could use it to open our border and prisons. He's making cars that liberals say save the planet and trying to put rockets on other planets. The progressives hate that Musk's making progress. And they hate that he's young and fun and not in the shadows like their sugar daddy Soros. Again, like a teenage girl, they blackballed Elon and then he became even more popular. And now they hate him, but they really hate themselves for losing him.
Forgive me, but what's his end game? I mean, I know look, he wants to be the first trillionaire in the world. I mean, what's his end game here?
Well, you know it. You guys, you created him, Governor. I mean, you
By
guys.
the way, in many respects, California did. It was our regulatory process and our subsidies to create this market. You're 100% right. I think you're right.
Democrats loaned Musk billions to make green cars, and he actually did it. Unlike all the other dumb loans Democrats gave out to all the green companies that went belly up, like Solyndra and Sonova and that stupid electric bus company that Kamala's always yapping about. All Democrats do once they get into power is hand wealthy people money. They bail out banks, give donors green contracts. But suddenly, some wealthy guys go into government to shut down the fraud and handouts, and the media is mad.
President Trump is surrounded by the wealthiest cabinet, the wealthiest administration in modern U.S. history. Does this concern you?
I don't think it's so much about their wealth.
I mean, you're only allowed to be wealthy in Congress. Can't be wealthy in the cabinet. We know how Elon made his money. How'd Nancy? Elon makes cars and rockets. What does Hunter make? No one wants his paintings now that Daddy's back in Delaware. What a coincidence. So it seems like the Democrats finally settled on a message to beat Trump. It's taken them long enough. Republicans are for the rich. Where have I heard that before? Oh, they've been saying it for 100 years. Maybe it used to work, but now the Democrats are the party of the rich. Billionaires donated more to Kamala than Trump. She outraised him 2-1, and he still cleaned her clock. Under Joe Biden, income inequality increased, and the Democrats and their shutdowns created the biggest transfer of wealth in world history. Zuckerberg, Musk, Bezos, Gates made more money under Biden than ever. And that's great. We're all for making money. It's just not great when the rest of the country can't get ahead. Liberals used to love these billionaires until they switched sides.
You guys you loved all the oligarchs, and particularly Elon, until they flipped. And remember, all the rest of these oligarchs were all progressive Democrats until 11 p.m.
I don't know if they're progressive. I refer to them as libertarian, and I know these guys intimately. I've known them for decades.
If Trump's doing all these favors for billionaires, why are the billionaires losing money under him? Well, because he's fighting a trade war to rebalance the economy to save the American worker. Elon has lost $100 billion since he teamed up with Trump. And he says it's worth it if he can stop the country from going bankrupt.
So it's a call to action. You're hearing a call to action.
Yeah.
You giving up your other stuff? I mean, how are you running your other businesses?
With great difficulty. Yeah, I mean.
But there's no turning back, you're saying.
I'm just here trying to make government more efficient, eliminate waste and fraud, and so far we're making good progress.
The party's flipped. Democrats are for the rich. The Trump Republicans are for everybody. And that has the Democrats rattled. The America First movement forced Democrats into hating peace, progress, and making things in America. They're even against black kids with cancer who want to grow up to be cops.
And welcome to Hannity. We start tonight with a Fox News alert. After 8 long months stranded in space, 2 American astronauts will soon, thankfully, be coming home, but not tonight. Elon Musk's SpaceX postponed the launch of its Falcon 9 rocket because of a small hydraulic issue. But soon, the 2 stranded Americans will be retrieved, and that'll be in the very near future. 4 other astronauts will take their place at the International Space Station, and this will be a historic rescue operation. Now, according to Musk and one of the stranded American astronauts, it could have all happened months and months ago if not for Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. Then President Biden turned down Elon Musk's offer to make the rescue because of political reasons. Didn't want to give the win to Donald Trump. And yet, according to radical far-left Democrats, well, the guy bringing home our stranded astronauts is a villain. You should not like him. In fact, some on the radical left are calling for Elon Musk. This is getting really pathetic, and these people need to be discovered and arrested and prosecuted. They're calling for his assassination. Others committing acts of outright terrorism against Tesla, dealerships, torching vehicles and charging stations, even shooting into showrooms. In London, a group of far-left nut jobs pouring liquid latex over Tesla's state-of-the-art robot, referring to it as a Nazi robot. So why? Ask yourself, why do they hate Elon Musk? What, for giving free communications to the victims of Hurricane Helene in North Carolina when they had no connection with the outside world? Or wildfire victims in California, for building a 1,000 horsepower, self-driving, an electric car that is the most American-made car in the country, for simply helping President Trump for free, exposing waste, fraud, abuse, corruption inside our government. But the even bigger nut jobs on MSDNC, our old friends, Liberal Joe and company, they don't seem to have a problem with any of the left's extremism. Instead, they are distraught that violent arsonists and rioters might be tried as terrorists. Take a look.
But then you also overnight have this post claiming that protests at Tesla dealerships are illegal. He said today he would label violence against dealerships domestic terrorism. So just to be clear, you protest a private company, you are labeled by this administration a domestic terrorist.
No, they are shooting. They're shooting bullets into showrooms. They're threatening assassination. They are burning cars. They are burning charging stations. Yeah, that would be a little different if you want to tell the truth at MSDNC. Of course, this is NBC News. But according to Democrats, if you walked into the Capitol building on January 6th, everybody deserved to be locked up for years and years and years. But, of course, the summer of 2020, the 574 riots that killed dozens, injured thousands of cops, caused billions in property damage. Oh, Kamala Harris, their candidate of choice, they're not going to stop rioting. They shouldn't stop rioting, and we're not going to stop supporting them. But if you shoot at a Tesla dealership, you blow up a Cybertruck, what, that's a peaceful protest and should be honored and respected as free speech? The left is up in arms over Elon Musk, the guy whose company is attempting to rescue American astronauts stranded in space by Joe and Kamala. And if Democrats hate Trump and Musk that much, maybe they should just follow old Rosie O'Donnell's lead. That's right. Sad news for the 12 or 13 or 14 Rosie O'Donnell fans across the country. As we showed you last night, she is no longer living in the U.S. of A. in a desperate attempt to calm her anti-Trump rage. The fact that she's been triggered. Rosie is now moved to Ireland. And this was funny. Today, during a joint press conference at the White House, Ireland's prime minister was asked about his country's newest resident. Let's take a look at this.
Ireland is known for very happy, fun-loving people, great attitude, many in this room right now that I've met. Why in the world would you let Rosie O'Donnell move to Ireland? I think she's going to lower your happiness level.
That's true. Thank you. I like that question. Do you know you have Rosie O'Donnell? Do you know who she is? Do you know who she is? Yeah. You're better off not knowing.
You're better off not knowing. Having been on The View with her, I actually agree with the president. Now, the president was in rare form today during a wide-ranging, frankly, entertaining press conference. Let's take a look.
Are you going to retaliate against me? And by the way, I have to speak of inflation. I love these socks. What's with these socks?
It's in honor of the T-shirts.
I'm trying to stay focused, but I'm very impressed with the VP's socks.
I can't even see the socks. I don't know what they look like. Anyway, President Trump clearly upbeat, and for good reason. In less than 2 months, a recurring theme has emerged from his second term. It's simple, but it's profound. Promises made, promises kept. Let's start at the border, where illegal immigration has almost completely stopped, all while deportations are way up. Unlike the old border czar, and unlike Alejandro Mayorkas, Tom Homan and Kristi Noem actually know what they're doing. They're making no apologies for protecting the American people. Take a look.
Now, I always hear all the time, family separation. Homan's the godfather saying separation. Let me be clear. Zero tolerance is about saving lives. Because we figure we start prosecuting people who violate the law and put the children in harm's way, maybe they stop coming. And they did. Numbers went down. It's unfortunate families got separated. But it happens to American families every day. It's going to happen in Albany today that an American family will be separated by law enforcement because the child can't go to jail with a parent. But we want to talk about family separation? 500,000 children on Joe Biden were trafficked into this country. They can't find 300,000 of them. That's a separation. But you know what President Trump's committed? We're going to find them, and we're going to save them.
It's over 300,000. And by the way, he was heckled on his way into meeting some of these New York politicians. And border czar Tom Homan will join us straight ahead tonight. But this brings us to yet another major promise made and promise kept by President Donald Trump. Tonight, I am happy to report prices are coming down. That includes the cost of gas, which hasn't been this cheap in the month of March since 2021. Look at this. Dramatically, egg prices are also plummeting. They are now cheaper than when Donald Trump took office. Bye-bye left-wing talking point. Interest rates on mortgages, they're also down, now dropping for the 6th consecutive week and driving a spike in the real estate market. Overall inflation is now down, with a new report that we're even better than expected. And American manufacturing is once again on the rise, but don't take my word for it. This is what several business leaders and even fake news CNN are saying about the economy. You decide.
Manufacturing is back. If you believe that a supply chain bringing parts of cars across the border with Mexico or Canada 7 times, and this is efficient, this is not. This is insanity. We've got to build in America. We've got to produce things here.
Finally, we have some good news on the economy and really the #1 issue for many Americans, the cost of living. So we just learned that consumer prices in February increased by 2.8% year over year, 0.2% month over month. Both of these figures were a step in the right direction, and both were better than expected. So this is definitely very encouraging to see.
One of the things that I do like is that the president is engaged with the business community. The administration is engaged with the business community. And that's a different experience than what we've had over the course of the last 4 years.
And because of the president's policies, Nissan and Honda, they were both going to build manufacturing centers in Mexico. Now they're moving them to the U.S. Apple is committed to now investing $500 billion in 4 years in Texas, building out a facility down there that will create tens of thousands of jobs. A Taiwanese chip company, they're going to spend $100 million right here in the U.S. As it turns out, the ongoing trade negotiations are not causing the sky to fall, as some on the left have predicted. Instead, Canada, the EU are being held accountable for their unfair trade practices. And that brings us to an ongoing Hannity investigation, and that's into tariffs and taxes. This is information the mainstream corrupt legacy media mob will never tell you. Keep in mind, Canada claims to be a proponent of free trade, but they have consistently levied maximum tariffs of 298% for our butter, 245% for our cheese, 241% for our milk. What about dairy farmers in Wisconsin? Should we not stand up for them? Canada also imposes a 5% value-added tax or national sales tax on pretty much almost everything imported from the U.S., and it's even worse with the European Union, a value-added tax ranging from 8% to over 25%. The EU has also long imposed a 5.5% tariff on all U.S. goods, so President Trump is rightly negotiating a better deal so prices will go down for you, the American people. Is he supposed to sit there and just take it like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and do nothing? Meanwhile, he's incentivizing all of this new manufacturing in the U.S. And let's also be clear, as we have seen over and over again, it'd never be a good idea to bet against Donald Trump. How many bet against Zelensky coming back? A lot of people. How many people like us were telling you he'll be back, and he was, and he will be, and guess what? These countries will negotiate, and you'll pay less. Now, this was a president who oversaw what was record-breaking in terms of the economy in his first terms. Historic gains in the economy. Look at those gains right there, thanks to our friend Steve Moore, who will join us in a minute. Record gains for the S&P, record gains for the NASDAQ. But apparently the Democratic Party wants to shut it all down. Never mind the fact that he created record low after record low unemployment levels for every demographic: African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, women in the workplace, African American youth unemployment. Senate Democrats, they are now planning to block the House funding bill, shut down the government on Friday. This will be called the Schumer shutdown. Get used to that. Don't forget this, this is their economic plan. We are currently living under the Democrats and the Biden and Harris economy. We need the CR to fund the government. They didn't fund the government. Schumer never passed a single budget last year. He and his fellow Democrats and Biden and Harris, they are responsible for all of this. Now, Friday, if the government does shut down, This will be on the Schumer radical Democrats. It will be the Schumer shutdown. Schumer lives in fear and is capitulating to a radicalized party that refused to stand for the president at the joint session. They wouldn't even stand for the first lady. They wouldn't stand for mothers of slain children. They wouldn't stand for a young man that survived cancer or the wife of a slain officer. And Schumer and Jeffries orchestrated their silly, stupid bingo card paddle response to the president's address to the joint session. They can't stand for working men and women. They're not going to fight for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. The president has pledged to protect Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. The only thing Schumer and company applauded for was endless war in Europe. That was it. And now, according to Democrats and their own words, all these innocent Americans will suffer because they hate Donald Trump more than they care about government workers, and they will cause this shutdown. But, however, if my memory serves me well, if I don't have Joe Biden-itis yet, Democrats used to think that government shutdowns are the worst thing on earth. Wow. Now, with the pending Schumer shutdown, I guess things have changed. Let's remind you.
When the senator from Texas shut this government down in 2013, my state was flooded. It was underwater.
We all knew together that a government shutdown will be devastating for this country.
We are now less than a month away from a potential government shutdown.
Democrats use a government shutdown as a political tool to protest Donald Trump and Elon Musk's efforts to defund and dismantle government agencies.
The strategy is to do whatever we can to stop Donald Trump.
So let's end this little monologue, shall we, with another question other than hating Donald Trump. The Democrats truly believe in anything besides the right of men to play women's sports, the rights of illegal immigrants over the safety of you, the American people, the right to waste hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars abroad on their radical DEI, woke, transgender radicalism? Or do they just have a constant thirst for power, using your money for their influence?